Welcome to Leadership Speaking Radio, the podcast for leaders and changemakers who want to learn how to communicate with impact, authenticity, and human connection to their peers, teams, and customers in order to build better relationships, better their bottom lines, and become better leaders. My name is Dr. Laura Penn. I'm the founder of the Leadership Speaking School, and I'm your host. Visit my website, www.theleadershipspeakingschool.com, to find out more about how we can support you to show up as the best version of yourself every time you speak. Now, let's get straight into our topic. A warm and hearty welcome back to Leadership Speaking Radio, everybody. It is episode number 62. How to integrate play and creativity into communication. I have been looking forward to downloading the content of this episode for quite some time now, because I don't know if you feel it, but I know I do. This feeling of tired blandness that is just eating up our screen time when we are talking to each other in meetings, and that is pervasive in the presentations that I watch leaders, teams, and changemakers making all over the world. So we need to spice things up with creativity. We need to play more. We need to show our colors and enjoy ourselves more when it comes to communication, because you've heard it said before by me on this podcast that communication is supposed to feel good. So why is it that we are editing out this joy, editing out the luminosity, the je ne sais quoi, the va-va-voom of our speaking to our peers, teams, and customers and stakeholders? Why is that? Why are people stuck in inertia, in this frame of blandness, where blandness becomes the template, the status quo? I don't know, but I'm here to disrupt that status quo in this episode, because it is time for color. It is time for life. It is time to spice up communication with creativity and play. How about that? So let me ask you a question. When was the last time that you played during communication? When was the last time that you did something that was out of the ordinary, extraordinary, that took you out of your comfort zone a little bit? It certainly took your audiences out of their comfort zone a little bit, because you turned on the lights. You did something that was unexpected and different, and frankly, that was refreshing, that the audiences, without them knowing it, had secretly been yearning for. When was the last time you did something like that? Well, maybe it was a long time ago, or maybe it was recent. I don't know. For me, it was the other day. I was doing an online teaching of a group of people from across the world. Man, I love living in the 21st century. And for those of you who know my work, you might have seen some of my content with my beautiful studio background, which is a studio that I built during COVID years that looks like a New York City loft. Like, that's the vibe. There's like a fake brick wall and green plants and plush carpets and my books in a bookshelf. I've really nerded out creating this vista for the eyes of the people watching me. But I was kind of bored by it. I was like, I need something else. I need to change this up somehow. So I brought in a little bit of pop into my background. Let me show you what it was. Da 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 da. You see this? This is the color pop. I brought it into my scene, and I placed these gorgeous leftover Christmas bobules on the shelf behind me, and it just said, wow. And it became this thing that, got some attention, and it looked colorful, and it was playful, and I enjoyed displaying it. I was playing. It was subtle. Nobody else would have known what I was doing, but I did. And that just turned things on its head a little bit. So this is a simple example of what play can look like when you are speaking in front of your audiences. Let me put this in the shot. Because what this does is it creates a little bit of, see that? Oh, yes. It creates a little bit of different energy, doesn't it? Something else has entered the space. And that's playful. So what I want to do today is I want to use the word play, P-L-A-Y, to share ways that you can elevate, heighten, amplify your playfulness and creativity when it comes to you speaking online. And actually, before I even do that, before we get into the word play, let me just say one more thing about your container. So a lot of people are still working online. Working online is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So it's time to up everybody's game to get out of March 2020, where people were kind of scrambling and things were messy and things looked very basic and people had their Mickey Mouse headphones on and the sound was bad. It's time to elevate and heighten from that place. It is time to create a container. So your container is your space where you are in, where you are working from online, in your home office, wherever you are. That's your container. So I want to say a word or two about that. That one way to play in your container is to create a nicer one. So just adding these bobules right here, these Christmas ornaments, I've done something with my container. I've created something extra. It's an extra layer of visual candy. Because what you need to remember is that when you speak to your audiences online, you're not engaging their five senses. You are only engaging two of those five senses, sight and sound. The other ones fall by the wayside, which makes the experience a little harder to pay attention to. If you're an audience member, you're not using your senses, you kind of tune out a little faster. So you need to heighten the sense of sight for your audiences, what they see, and you need to heighten the sense of sound. And when it comes to your container, heightening the sense of sight is not hard. It begins with what you look like, right? And how much of you people can see. So this floating head thing that's going on isn't enough. It makes those eyes watching you on that screen tired. It makes them tune out because there isn't enough visual innuendo, visual stimulus for them to see that language of nonverbal communication that happens when people see your speaking instrument. So at the very least, and you've heard me say this before, I am sure, angle your camera so that you can be seen from your head to your belly button and bring in your arms and hands into that communication. Because when you do, those eyes are watching and getting more from you visually than if you're just a floating head. Another thing, my favorite thing to talk about, is adding stuff, bobules. Let me add something else and just show you another color pop. My favorite piece of greenery. Actually, this is not real moss. But man, I love this thing. I have it in my studio. Look at what happens when I put it here into the shot. Right? Plants are magical. They give you clean air. They make the room fresher. Something feels alive. And look at that color pop. So can you, this is obviously not an ideal container for adding things, but I'm just doing it for effect today. But can you, in your container, add plant life? Add something that draws the eye. Put in little details, things of intrigue, so that when the eyes that are looking at you, besides them seeing you from head to belly button so that your hands and arms are in the shot, those eyes can look at other things inside the shot, can take a break from looking at you every now and then and see more stuff in the shot. It's visual stimulus. And yes, when I say the word stimulus, I mean stimulating. So you have to be careful not to have too much. This is a borderline too much in this little space. In addition to, my loud shirt and my red lipstick, there's a lot going on, but I'm doing all this on purpose to make a point. With your online containers, up your game. It's 2025. Elevate and heighten how you show up in your surroundings. Make yourself visible and play to the visual senses of your audiences. Needless to say, with the audio senses, it is time to invest in good audio equipment if you haven't done it already. And I'm not talking about those headphones that make you look like you work in a call center in 1997. I am talking about microphones, a clip microphone, a podcast microphone, something else that heightens the sound of your voice so that every word is heard and you are clear and articulate. That's the second sense for you to work towards and play towards for your container. So, enough said about that. I think I'll leave these things here for now, and we will enjoy them as we continue to talk about play and creativity. So let's get back to that word play. I am going to share an idea for every letter of that word. Are you ready? The first letter, P, as in pen, Laura Penn. No, I digress. P as in, participation. The more your audience can participate with you in your talk, the more playful it is. Now, why is that important? Please don't misunderstand when I talk about play this way. I don't want you to think that you're clowning. You're not entertaining people. You're not there to make them laugh or smile. You are there to elevate your communication by doing something different, by heightening the experience, and by doing something that just brings more jazz into the air. In participation, this happens. Audiences, and you've been in audiences, and you are part of audiences, audiences long to participate with you. You know what this feels like. You're sitting in an audience and the speaker is talking and talking and talking and talking, and there's no engagement. It's like they are alone in a room full of 800 people just talking to themselves, right? They could be in their bathroom at home talking to themselves. It doesn't matter. It's that feeling of they're not connected. They're not with me. I'm not here. I'm not relevant. I can't be seen. I can't be heard. I'm not valued. When a speaker participates with their audience, that audience feels like they're part of something. They feel seen, heard, and valued. They feel important. And they feel like they are a necessary part of that communication. Participation has many different forms. I use them all. In all of my keynote speaking around the world, I am well known for my level, high level, if I may add, of audience interaction and participation, because I know it's the secret sauce to making my message land in their hearts and minds, and, frankly, giving them something to remember it by. So what does it look like? What's an example of participation? A really easy one is to have people self-reflect. Think back to a time when. That's participation. So it's not necessarily them having to say something, but just doing some mind work in their head is participation, which is a different type of activation than them just sitting there and listening to you. Participation can look like raise your hand if, right? So you're asking them a question, and if that thing that you're asking them about relates to them, they raise their hand. That's participation. And that has a secondary power, which is that when people activate their bodies, their embodied forms, then they're going to be not only more participatory, but there's going to be more activity, learning activity, memory activity, right? Sparking something physical is a fantastic way to connect to hearts and minds. So that's another way to activate participation, to have your audiences physically do something. Don't do this one, though. This is my personal pet peeve. I can't stand it when a speaker I've never seen before and who I don't know anything about starts their talk with, close your eyes. I hate it. And I secretly hate that person because I don't trust them yet. Don't ask your audience to close their eyes before you've established trust. Frankly, before you've earned that trust. And that's at least a good 10, 15 minutes into the talking, but not at the beginning. So don't use that as a form of participation. It is a no-no from Dr. Laura Penn. Anyway, I think that you catch the drift. That participation, the first P of play, is a powerful way to engage playful creativity. And it's a way for your audience to feel connected to what you are doing and to have them feel seen, heard, and valued. Now, the L of the word play. It might surprise you what I'm about to say, so listen carefully. That L stands for love. Yes. When you go into your speaking opportunity with unconditional love, you're not there to get something back. You're not there because you've got a play in mind. No play on the word play there, right? You're not there to gain something. It's the opposite. You are there to give something. And that mindset doesn't come from your head. That comes from your heart. When you show up as someone who unconditionally loves your audience, you will be playful. You will be present. You will be everything that you are in the best communication you've ever had with other people because you are fully there. And your presence isn't loaded with an end game. You are not there to receive, you are there to give. When you give from this place of love, unconditional love, then that's where all the connection happens. So love is the second L, or is the second letter of the word play. Go in with a mindset of I'm here to give, and you will receive without asking for it. So that is the second letter. Let's now go to the letter A from the word play. Reminding ourselves first what we're doing here. We're talking about ways to be playful and creative in communication. Because the status quo as it is right now is rigid, stale, and broken. And for us to create community, for us to build trust, for us to enliven, empower, embolden, and engage our audiences, we've got to show up differently. And I'm making the case that that difference is play and creativity. So in breaking down the letters that spell play, P-L-A-Y, I'm giving you tools that you can play with the next time you're speaking in front of your peers, teams, customers, and stakeholders. How about that? So the P-L-A, the A of play, here it is. It is attention. Attention. Yep. It's what every human being in that audience is craving. Attention. Now, you know attention by another word that I use in just about every episode of Leadership Speaking Radio. I'll give you a clue. It starts with the letter P. Yes, it's presence, of course. Attention is your presence. So your attention is you being present. And guess what circle I want you to be present in? The contraction circle? The freeze one? Number one? No. The push one? The fight or flight? No. The second one. The second circle. When you are showing up in full presence, you are there in the room with those people that day for that talk about that subject in that moment. Be present. Your presence, aka attention in this case for this podcast episode, is the greatest gift you can give your audiences. Being there with them in the room, seeing them, engaging with them, listening to them, making your presentation a conversation. You know all this good stuff. Attention. That's the A of play. Give them your attention. Be generous with it. And you will watch people lean forward. You will breathe together. Your heartbeats will even synchronize. And you will authentically connect with your audiences. Attention. Let's go to the Y of play. And I thought about this one for a while. This one is simple. It's not complicated. The Y in play stands for yes. Say yes to every speaking opportunity that you have so that you can practice playing. I love how that all comes together. P-L-A-Y. The Y is yes. Yeah? The more you are saying yes to your speaking opportunities, the more you are able to play in the toolbox using these tools that I've been teaching you over all of these episodes of Leadership Speaking Radio. And if you and I have worked together in my master classes or in Leadership Speaking Core, my 3-day program for leaders and change makers. If you've been doing any of that stuff, you know that I always say yes to every speaking opportunity, because that's where you practice. That's where you get good at these amazing leadership speaking skills, okay? And that's where you work on your craft. P-L-A-Y. Participation, love, attention, and saying yes. Try these 4 things out in a playful way, and you will turn on the lights, the metaphorical lights of the rooms that you speak in. You will have your audiences lean forward with a smile on their face and a glint behind their eyes because they want to play with you. They want to be there and interact with you and engage and make that talk that you are giving a dialogue, not a monologue. These are the tools that can serve you in these first steps as you come out of the inertia that you're probably in. That template form of, I have to be rigid and hold my breath and do all my presentations the same way. Get out of that dead zone and walk into the light. Communication is supposed to feel good. And by playing and being creative, and if you're online, creating a bit of zhuzh in your container, all of these things heighten, enliven, and lift the spirit of what is going on there. And in our world as it is today, it's the least we can do to help to make the world a better place. And more importantly, it's what we should do to help make the world a better place. Because when you communicate this way with the people that are in your audiences, you build community. And community is how people are at their very best. All right? So that's my message for today. P-L-A-Y, play. Okay, I'm going to close this episode down now, so here we go. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have enjoyed delivering it, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe now to Leadership Speaking Radio to be sure not to miss an episode. And don't forget to visit the website, www.theleadershipspeakingschool.com, to learn more about how we can support you to show up as the best version of yourself every time that you communicate with your peers, teams, customers, and stakeholders. So there we are. That is all for now. Go out, go play, go live, enjoy yourself. Communication is supposed to feel good. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.